Chapter 1650. Buzzing. At this time, the ground shook slightly, and then the purple demon light shone. A Tai Chi pattern appeared quietly, and the surrounding space began to distort. This good-for-nothing is quite good. Looking around, Dustless stared at Sheila's Taiga with interest, at Shangri-La, dimensional matrix. Although the ability was not good, it was also good. It was the best among the Taigu. Good for nothing. Grease heard the words and his face jumped a few times. He sneered and said, "You two disappear together. Even if you die, someone will accompany you. Am I very kind? If you have any last words to thank me, say it quickly." When the voice fell, Sheila stared at Dustless and his death, trying to catch a trace of fear from their faces. "Are you an idiot? Have you graduated from kindergarten?" This was what Dustless said. "Is your head broken by the door? If so, I don't mind torturing you. Maybe I can restore your broken worldview again." This was Estetha's sarcasm. "You two have guts." Sheila almost vomited blood when she heard this. She wanted to slap herself a few times. Why did she have to waste her time talking to such a stubborn person? She was too stupid. Disappear. She stared at the two people fiercely. The purple light was dazzling to the extreme. Then there was a ripple in the void. Esteth and Dustless both disappeared. In the strange space, it was dead silent. Looking up, it was dark all around. It was bottomless. It was quiet like stagnant water. There was no object. There were only two people in the whole world, Dustless and Esteth. What is this place? Esteth looked at the surrounding environment blankly. She suddenly felt that it was very difficult to breathe. This should be another dimension, a world without air. The kid transferred us here. I am afraid we can't go back. What would happen to people without oxygen? There was no doubt that they would die. Damn it. Estetha's face was pale. She did not expect that she would fall into Sheila's hands. It was definitely a shame for her to be plotted by this kind of insect. Are we going to wait for death here? Esteth smiled bitterly. Her body was different from ordinary people. Even if she did not absorb oxygen, she could live for a while, but she could not live forever, or she would die sooner or later. Esteth was unwilling to die together with Minister Onesta. You want to die here? I'm sorry. Although I've lived for hundreds of years, I haven't lived enough. If you want to die, you can continue to stay here and wait for death. Sorry, I have something to do, so I'll leave first. The sudden words made Esteth stunned. She opened her crystal eyes and looked carefully. Dustless's eyes seemed to have changed dramatically. Is that Dustless's original appearance? Staring at the indifferent eyes, Esteth was a little dumbfounded for a while. In that unique ocean, she was like a lonely boat that could tilt at any time. Esteth couldn't tell the specific feeling clearly. In short, it was very small. God's power. As Dustless's voice fell, there was a ripple in the dark void. A small hole gradually enlarged, connecting to the unknown mysterious world. From the section of the black hole, Esteth felt familiar. How did you do it? Do you also have the same Taigu as Sheila? Estetha's eyes were shining. It was the first time for her to admire someone's life. People live in the world, no matter who your enemy is. No matter strong or weak, you have to keep a last card for yourself. In the previous world, there is the mark of my former flying thunder god Warlock, which can be used as a space coordinate. That guy wants to throw me in the universe so that I can't go back. It's so funny. What is the flying thunder god Warlock? Although Esteth did not understand what he meant, she also understood that Dustless left a card in advance. She could not help but admire his far-sighted IQ secretly. Thinking of Dustless's previous words, she could not help but gently nodded. What he said was right. When a person lives in the world, no matter when, you have to prepare a way for yourself to be safe under any crisis. Let's go. Glancing at his death faintly, Dustless took the lead to step into the black hole. Stepping into the hole that was torn by God's power, it was still a dark world. His death followed Dustless, a path completely composed of special energy spread to the front. Can we really go back? About a few minutes later, the dark exhalation was endless, and his death whispered. If you don't believe me, you can go back, I promise not to stop you. Dustless suddenly stopped and pointed to the large dark space behind him. You! His death glared and looked up at Dustless's indifferent eyes. She was angry. When did someone dare to talk to her like that? His death, although I don't know what you plan, but you should deliberately let Sheila launch Shangri-La, Dimensional Matrix, right? Looking at his death with no expression, Dustless then opened her true face, pointed to her eyes and said calmly, Don't think that I don't know anything, you can't hide anything from these eyes. Your Taigu, demon god's manifestation, essence of the demon, is a terrifying Taigu. The hidden ability, Mokbotmo, can even freeze time and space. If you use this trick, you should be able to kill Sheila instantly, but you deliberately let her go. I need a reasonable explanation. Chapter 1652. Damn guy, his strength is too strong, I can't break free. Aware that she was bound by Dustless, Isteth immediately struggled with all her strength, but sadly, Dustless's hand was like the hand of God. Even if his 5 fingers were just gently pressing her, Isteth had no extra strength to escape. Even because of the excessive force, Isteth herself was sweating. Dustless's smile was even more difficult to hide, quietly ridiculing Isteth for overestimating herself. I can only use that. With a ferocious luster in her eyes, Isteth decided to use her best trick. In such an embarrassing situation, only that trick could win by surprise. Mokbotmo. With a whisper, the world in Isteth's eyes immediately froze, everything stopped flowing, and time stopped at this moment. Damn it, where did this damned monster come from? Isteth rubbed her sore shoulders and escaped from Dustless's restraint. Her eyes locked on him with hatred. At this moment, Dustless was like a stone, motionless. I can't hurt him, I can only hope that this guy will leave this damn place. Looking around the dark space, there were only Isteth and Dustless in the whole world. Poochie. The ice sword was inserted into Dustless's body and cut open his stomach, but Isteth avoided the fatal vital parts, hoping to use this to threaten Dustless to compromise. When I leave here, I will deal with you. TSK, I can even see you in my dreams. Your existence is both surprising and frightening. Looking at Dustless, Isteth grabbed his chin and stared at the motionless Dustless. Suddenly she felt that it was necessary to leave the mark of a winner on Dustless. It seems that I didn't bring anything meaningful when I came out. After thinking about it, Isteth found that she had nothing good to leave. Finally, she looked at Dustless's dry lips and her body was uncontrollably moved. What's wrong with me? After a while, Isteth reflexively left her own lipstick mark on Dustless's lips, which was clearly visible. She blushed when she regained her consciousness, and her delicate jade face was even blushing. However, this revenge is very suitable. That arrogant gaze of this guy is truly displeasing. Especially that appearance of his as if he is unrivaled in the world. Then Isteth's shyness disappeared and became a matter of course. Staring at the conspicuous lipstick mark, Isteth smiled and was very satisfied with her masterpiece. She felt that there was nothing wrong with it. The winner could do whatever they wanted with their spoils of war. They didn't need to care about the feelings of the people involved. She didn't need to care about Dustless's feelings. This was the privilege of the victor. Caw caw caw. A lot of cracks suddenly appeared in the special space. Isdeth frowned slightly and knew that the time for her unique skill, Moke Baltimo, was coming. Immediately, he looked down at Dustless with a complacent expression. He placed his hands on his hips and looked extremely arrogant, hoping to catch a glimpse of Dustless's disappointed and incredulous expression. Dustless, who just woke up from a dream, frowned and suddenly felt a tingling pain in his chest. He subconsciously forgot that it was a big sword made of ice. Is it the skill called Moke Baltimo again? It's really convenient. Completely ignoring the ice sword that penetrated into his body, Dustless suddenly touched the corner of his mouth subconsciously, and a unique fragrance rushed into his nostrils along his cheeks. This is the smell of Isdeth's body. After taking 2 deep breaths, Dustless's face became more strange. Looking at Isdeth, who was close at hand, the smell was somewhat similar to her body, or even exactly the same. He vaguely guessed that Isdeth had done something crazy to him. The moral degeneration of the world is getting worse. It is necessary to guard against female perverts in the future, otherwise, it will be easy to get away with it. Dustless said to himself like a wooden man. Why, do you have a problem? Catching the strange expression that flashed across Dustless's face, Isdeth thought it was dissatisfaction, and swore coldly and domineeringly, Don't say that I just kissed you a little now. I tell you, you are now my prisoner of war. Whatever I want to do to you, I will do it to you. All these are the privileges of the strong, and the weak are destined to be exploited and trampled. Isdeth is really arrogant and lawless. Wuchen raised his middle finger at her without any hesitation. It's fine if you just kiss someone casually, but you even arrogantly announced that all of this is the privilege of the strong. You're so arrogant and bossy that you treat everything like an ant. But this arrogant personality was also in line with Isdeth's personality. The privileges of the strong. She whispered softly, then the ice sword that penetrated Dustless's body collapsed instantly, inexplicably all shattered, and the long and narrow wound also showed signs of recovery. In this case, that is to say, people with big fists can dominate the fate of others at will. Then please kneel down immediately and make a gesture to please me. With a wicked smile on his face, Dustless decisively chose to return all. What Isdeth did to him, he must return all. In the words of Isdeth, this was the privilege of the strong. The wound is healed. Isdeth was stunned, and her eyes were wide open. She did not expect that Dustless had such an ability to make people jealous. At the same time, with the arrival of the majestic momentum, Isdeth's knees gradually bent down. Isdeth, now kneel down and please me. She almost vomited blood when she saw herself being ruined by Dustless. This scene was unbearable. Dustless humiliated Isdeth severely, and she even smiled shamelessly. She accepted any request of Dustless and executed it without hesitation. Hey, it was an extremely obscene voice. Isdeth turned her head and saw Dustless with a smirk on his face. He was teasing her. How does this feel? Watching yourself and your enemy doing that kind of thing together. Hey, you have never experienced this before, right? This scene will play out in front of you for the next 24 hours. Dustless smiled proudly and made up his mind to destroy Isdeth's dignity. You bastard, kill me if you have the guts. Isdeth vomited blood. She didn't expect Dustless to be so despicable. Don't be proud, I know this is an illusion. I won't be affected by you. Isdeth retorted with a red face. I'm sorry. Although Tsukuyami is an illusion, everything you experience in this world will be returned to the real you. Dustless laughed with a smug expression. At the same time, Dustless waved his hand and a bottle of special pills appeared in his hand. Everything in this world was under his control. Dustless could get whatever he wanted. Gulp. Dustless glanced at Isdeth maliciously and finally stuffed all the pills into her mouth. What is this? Why is it sweet? It's delicious. Give me a few more if you have the guts. Isteth pretended to be calm, but her heart was very strange. Her body was so hot that she felt uncomfortable, as if she was about to explode. A few more. Dustless immediately showed a shocked expression when he heard the words. He stared at Isteth stupidly and choked, "Are you sure you want a few more? And are you sure it's delicious? This thing will go bad if you eat too much. Although you have a strong ability to resist attacks, there is no need to court death. Maybe there will be a big problem." "I'm fine. I'll take a few more bottles." Staring at Dustless's shocked face, Isteth had a sense of achievement. She endured the discomfort of her body and planned to annoy Dustless. This was the first time that Isteth found Dustless defeated. Of course, she had to hit him hard. However, Wu Chen's next words made Isteth, who was in high spirits, collapse. She even almost suffocated to death without being able to catch her breath. Cough, cough, cough. "Miss Isteth, you think that the pill is delicious. I'm very happy because I made it myself. But I forgot to remind you just now. The pill is actually an aphrodisiac." Chapter 1654. This is an aphrodisiac. Isteth's face was extremely colorful in an instant, blue and white, purple and black. In just a few seconds, she changed more than a dozen different faces back and forth. Isteth wanted to ask Dustless if he needed to be so despicable. "You bastard, I will tear you into pieces." Isteth gnashed her teeth and held back her anger. Her body was trembling, and the flame in her heart was getting hotter and hotter. Isteth was not good, her cheeks were flushed, and her blue eyes were almost bursting into flames. "Still so strong." Dustless heard the words and laughed. He simply sat next to Isteth, holding his chin and smiled. "I'm curious how long you can support." "Oh, yes," a thought flashed through his mind. Then Wu Chen said loudly, "Miss Isteth, if I remember correctly, you just wanted to eat this thing, right?" Pointing to the pill in his hand, it was the aphrodisiac that Isteth had just eaten. "I didn't." Isteth quickly denied, "Kidding, only an idiot would continue to eat that thing. You are just my captive now, and you have no right to choose." Glancing at Isteth faintly, Dustless did not hesitate to pour another bottle of medicine into Isteth's throat. "Woo woo woo." Gulp. Isteth gnashed her teeth, but her arms couldn't resist the long legs. After a few sobs, she swallowed all the aphrodisiac into her throat. "Hey, this is a good show." Ignoring Isteth, who was vomiting, Dustless stared at Isteth motionlessly, as if he had found a fun toy and was very interested. You wait." Isteth was extremely sad, she clenched her gums, and even blood oozed out. The pain made her think clearly. "Gee, your determination is really admirable. Aren't you afraid of biting off your tongue?" Dustless said with a worried tone, but he really admired Isteth's decisiveness in his heart. "You look down on me too much." Isteth snorted coldly. Her tone was still that of a queen. Even if she was full of flaws, even if she became a captive, she would not easily bow down to Dustless. "Really? Then congratulations on passing the first level, Miss Isteth. You can enjoy it slowly. Such an experience is unforgettable. I said before that the duration of Tsukuyumi is 24 hours. Dustless wore a harmless smile on his face. He waved his hand and disappeared from the Tsukuyumi space. The world that entered his eyes turned into endless darkness. It's about time to go back. That damned brat, does she think she's special? What a joke. But since this kind of thing happens suddenly, I don't need to do anything in the future. Isteth hates the father and son. Ding ding. Yin yin yin, a light hum came out from Isteth's mouth. Looking down at her dark red cheeks, it seemed that Isteth's head was not normal at the moment. Her eyes were filled with desire as she tried her best to raise her burning right arm to tug at the corner of Dustless's clothes. She couldn't help but touch the most important part of Dustless's body. All of this was done instinctively. Tisk, it's really abnormal. Carefully observing Istetha's blurred eyes, Dustless's heart was as calm as water, and his wild nature could be controlled reasonably. Isteth exuded a strong smell of maturity. People with a little less concentration might rush to her. It's time to retreat. Ignoring the dark world, Dustless gently raised his right arm, covered with a special Ryatsu fluctuation. This was not the Ryatsu of an ordinary Grim Reaper. The temperament was cruel and fierce. It was undoubtedly the Ryatsu of a greater void. Greater void above Ajuchas, including Ajuchas, had a special ability, Black Cavity, which could open the space crack connecting to other dimensions, so it was not difficult to leave here. After a while, Dustless raised his right hand, condensed an inexplicable power, and immediately slid it gently. Kakaka. This mysterious world of different dimensions suddenly broke, and the bright sunshine also shone in. Isteth, who had been tortured by the blow, also opened her eyes and looked at the world full of life. Her eyes were dull and empty. I'm counting on you to retaliate against Minister Onesta. Don't let me down. Turning his head and holding Isteth, Wuchen stepped out of the dark extra-dimensional space. The bright sky was cloudless. Although the air of the blue void was full of blood, it was fresher than the previous place where he couldn't even see his own fingers. Dustless stepped on the void and looked at the ground below. It was a large number of human-shaped dangerous species that were slaughtered. I guess Akhame and the others have retreated. His observation hockey spread out and found that within a few kilometers of the surrounding area, there was no sign of life, and the dense forest had become an out-and-out place in the world, without a trace of life. It's time for me to retreat. Moving his stiff body a little, Dustless was about to leave, but Istetha's voice stopped Dustless from leaving. You'd better kill me. Istetha's tone was weak, her body was hollowed out, her clothes were wet and filled with a special accident. Although you hate me now, maybe you will come to me for help in the future. His clear eyes locked on the powerless Isteth. Dustless waved his hand and left leisurely. Without enough strength in the future, Isteth will not continue to come to die. Unless she still wants to experience the unforgettable feeling of a lifetime. At present, Istetha's big enemies, there are two more abominable objects, Minister Onesta and his son. They are more annoying than Dustless. Without them, nothing will happen, and Isteth will not be played by Dustless. The initiators of all this are Minister Onesta and his son. Isteth naturally hates them, and it is necessary to rush back to the capital to retaliate. GD, one of the 4 Rakshasa demons, showed up. He was the strongest, so he should be the vanguard. Not only did he run away, he even dared to stop and put on airs. The strongest of the 4 Rakshasa demons, sneered, long time no see, Chi Tong. Thorned, Chi Tong also nodded slightly. The two of them had known each other for a long time. They were both members of the assassination team, but now that their positions were different, Chi Tong decisively drew his sword. Run away. You must have made a mistake. I waited for so long just for the 4 of you. I thought that you would take the initiative to launch a sneak attack, but who would have thought that you would suddenly hide like rats? Your performance is too disappointing. An assassin dares to be so arrogant. Hearing this, the members of the 4 Rakshasa demons glared at him. In the past, before the Empire was in chaos, night raids were often carried out with their tails between their legs and kept a low profile. No matter where they went, it was the same. They had to put on a meticulous disguise. Now, they were so arrogant that they dared to invade. This was a naked provocation. Can you two deal with the 4 of them? Dustless asked Chi Tong and Mine lazily. As for Sheila. He turned his head and glanced at the city in the distance. I'll deal with the minister's son and that bollock. Damn old guy, he actually sent me to this damn place. In the luxurious palace, Sheila complained while drinking. She was quite tired of her father, Minister Honest, and hated the current boring and monotonous life. Boom boom boom. A huge explosion rose into the sky, and then the warm palace was penetrated by someone. The cold wind along with an indifferent voice all fell into Sheila's ears. There's no need to resent him. In a month at most, you and your father, Minister Honesta, will meet again in the frying pan of hell. Who is it? Get out of here. Sheila saw the situation and shouted. He suddenly stood up decadently. His body was tall, and his muscles were extremely strong and hard. He clenched his fists and looked quite intimidating. However, this inexplicable majesty only lasted for a few seconds, and it was an instant tragedy. Boom boom boom. A dazzling light came from the sky without warning. The dazzling light covered Sheila's whole body, and the blazing temperature made her feel a fatal threat. It's too dangerous. It can even track automatically. With a flash, Sheila hurriedly dodged the attack of the light. She was more than 10 meters away and thought that she could avoid the disaster, but before Sheila could even catch her breath, she was once again suppressed by the merciless flash. Boom boom boom. The strong and fierce force suddenly fell, mercilessly stepped on Sheila's head and stomped her whole body into the ground. Even the ground showed signs of cracking because of the strong force. Speed is power. Have you ever been kicked by the speed of light, Sheila? Chapter 1658. Boom boom boom. Endless rays of light whizzed toward his face. Sheila felt the deadly sharpness, his breathing was accelerated by dozens of times, and there were even bean-sized sweat drops on his forehead. Buzz buzz buzz. He subconsciously activated the taigu with his right hand. Boom boom boom. The place where Sheila stood was attacked by the light speed kick and turned into scorched earth. The entire palace was in ruins, and the moon hanging high in the sky suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Master Sheila. The huge vibration attracted the attention of the guards of the Anonism sect. A middle-aged man with a fat face and luxurious clothes hurried over, looking at the ruins in front of him. His face was very nervous. This person was Balak, and he was also the spy sent by Honesta to monitor the hierarch of the Anonism sect. Is this guy really here to protect me? Damn it, he better not get beaten to death. Otherwise, Minister Honesta will not let me go. Balak looked around anxiously and carefully searched for Sheila's traces. He cursed him thousands of times in his mind. After all, Sheila was Honesta's son. If he died here, Balak would be implicated as well. Of course, he is fine. The ability of the taigu is not bad, it can move in space. A strange voice sounded in his ears. Balak looked over there. When he just turned his head, a thug grabbed his throat and then easily lifted Balak up. It's so uncomfortable. His neck was grabbed. Balak felt that breathing was 100 times more difficult than usual. He glanced at the culprit with tears, trying to win sympathy. But after seeing the culprit behind the scenes, his heart suddenly became weak. Dustless of the night attack. Balak's heart was cold, and he was desperate. The night attack was all emotionless executioners. It was more realistic to expect them to be merciful than to pray to God. Do you know me? The indifferent face slightly relaxed. Dustless sighed. Damn, I wanted to kill you directly, but I didn't expect you to know me. Gulp. Balak choked for a moment, and suddenly there was hope for survival. Listening to Dustless's words, it seemed that he wanted to let him go. Of course I know you, your name is spread all over the capital. No, it is spread all over the world, Master Dustless. Balak flattered, he was happier than seeing his father. Do you know me? That's for the best. I don't want to waste time talking nonsense. It'll save me a lot of trouble. Dustless sighed in relief. Then please let me go, sir. I'll disappear from your sight and you won't be in any trouble. Bollock said excitedly. Ah. You've misunderstood me. Dustless was startled when he heard this. Then, he said coldly, you know my name. After you go to the underworld, you can give King Yama a suitable answer and know who killed you. I don't need to introduce myself. That's all. Goodbye. Crack. Chapter 1659. It's really sad. Glancing at Sierra indifferently, Dustless stepped over his body and left. When he was about to take away the taigu, a pair of rough big hands suddenly grabbed his right leg. Ha 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 ha. I caught it. Sierra, who closed his eyes, suddenly opened his eyes again, showing a crazy light, and the light of the extinguished taigu actually shined again. The purple light flashed unscrupulously, covering a large range. All the space that was affected was distorted, and it was deterred by a special force, revealing an indescribable ominous feeling. You are really tough, your heart was torn by the black coffin. Dustless did not change his expression, he knew that this guy would use the ability to calculate himself and his death last time. Don't forget my identity, it's easy to get the enhancer. If you want to complain, you can only complain that you treat me as an ordinary human being. Sierra said proudly, his face was red, he was excited as if he had taken drugs, it was obviously a final radiance. Really? Then I will reluctantly admit you. However, do you think this trick is useful? You sent me and his death to a different space, I still came back safe and sound. Dustless glanced at Sierra contemptuously, the space around had begun to change, and appeared in a strange world, but Dustless was still unmoved. You guy, Sierra's old face was particularly gloomy when he heard the words, Dustless was sent to another dimension, it was too strange that he could still come back. Do you think I will do the same thing again? You underestimate me too much. Sierra suddenly changed his face and smiled. When I traveled to the edge of the empire, I once found a special good place, there were dangerous species everywhere, and even super dangerous species appeared. The voice just fell, the world in front of Dustless's eyes was brand new. It was originally a large ruin, but now it became a wilderness, there were weathered white bones everywhere. Ow ow ow. Immediately after, a heart-wrenching roar spread through the sky. Dustless's appearance was like a rich fragrance of honey, attracting groups of dangerous species to whiz over. Ha ha ha, this is a good place, right? I've been here before. This trick was originally reserved for Generalist Death, but unfortunately, that smelly old man sent me here to deal with you. Sheila looked up to the sky and laughed. She stared at Dustless, trying to capture a trace of fear. After all, this location was special. Not to mention the large number of dangerous species gathered here, there were also super dangerous species that were countless times stronger than dangerous species. In Sheila's view, Dustless was already in a state of certain death. Why didn't you even leave a corpse for yourself? After a moment of silence, Dustless suddenly asked such an inexplicable question, which confused Sierra. Sheila was taken aback. She said coldly, don't you know how to speak human language? Please say that I can understand. It's so hot. Damn it, what's going on? Sheila, who was lying on the ground, suddenly howled in pain. She was shocked to find that the ground was too much of a stretch. The ground that had been hard just a moment ago was all bubbling. Is this F*King magma? Could it be that I'm dreaming? Sheila rolled on the ground to relieve her pain as she looked at the ground around her in shock. His body had begun to melt and gradually disappeared. Are you the one who did this? Sheila gritted her teeth in pain and suddenly wished that she could die earlier. At the same time, she looked at Dustless. She was sure that he was the initiator. At this moment, his appearance was very strange, and there was a dark red reincarnation Sharingan on his forehead. I have lived for hundreds of years, and I have never shown this eye on my forehead. You are the first. You are lucky, but also very tragic, because you won't even leave a corpse. Glancing at Sheila with a blank face, Dustless whispered, Heaven's defense. Gulp. Spatial displacement, Dustless and the rest arrived at an unfamiliar world. But this world's myriad phenomena were all constructed from magma. Mountains were formed by magma, rivers were also formed by magma, and the earth was also tumbling magma. Everything in this world was made of magma. Ah, it's so hot. With a scream, Sheila fell into the magma, including those dangerous species. They were swallowed by the super-large magma world in an instant. This loot is not bad. Looking at the taigu in his hand, Dustless nodded with satisfaction. Among many taigu, this was the only one that he could see. Dimensional matrix as Shangri-La, Dustless was the Jubi itself. He once occupied everything of Kagaya. He could use all her techniques, but there was no suitable target to use it. Now, this guy got it. 2 days later, they attacked the base at night. Dustless, Mine and Akhame returned safely. Unexpectedly, when they just returned to the base, they got the shocking news from the boss Najenda. Dustless also lost his mind for a while. Is Death lost? This joke is not funny at all. I still believe that Death will lose to Dustless. How can she lose to the useless Minister Ernest? This information is wrong. Lubbock tore the information in his hand into pieces and felt that his IQ was insulted. The news in the imperial capital was very tight, but some people saw the clues. At that time, a giant appeared in the sky of the imperial capital. It was dozens of meters high. It finally defeated Death, and it was still an overwhelming victory. Najenda took a smoke, and then said seriously, It is rumored that it is the strongest taigu, the supreme taigu that only the blood of the emperor can activate, supreme taser. Even if the little emperor really uses taser, it is impossible to crush Death. Dustless shook his head resolutely. He knew the strength of Death. She might be defeated, but it was not scientific to crush Death. Chapter 1661. Our alliance, does the Revolutionary Army know the news? Staring at Najenda and Isteth's face, Dustless said without thinking, Isteth is the big enemy of the Revolutionary Army, Najenda. If we form an alliance rashly, there may be a big problem. Don't worry about it for the time being, I will take full responsibility for the problem. Najenda replied frankly, intending to take all the blame. Isteth was the strongest sadist general of the empire. The Revolutionary Army was killed by her. The Revolutionary Army also hated Isteth. Seeing the victory in hand, the Revolutionary Army would never join forces with such a sinner. As you like. Dustless couldn't say much. After all, this was the choice of the boss, Najenda. Although he felt that this behavior was digging a hole for himself, Dustless still chose to respect her will. At most, he would help Najenda once at a critical moment. Putong. At this moment, an unexpected figure suddenly fell to the ground and fainted with a very haggard look. Kurome. Chi Tong hurriedly ran to Kurome's side and held her tightly in his arms. He raised his voice several times and stared at Kurome, trying not to let go of every inch of her skin, for fear that he would miss a wound. Her body has been hollowed out. Looking down at Kurome who fell in Akhame's arms, Dustless sighed with regret. After a series of battles before, I am afraid that she will die soon. Kurome, this sentence was like thunder for Akhame. She was stunned instantly, her jade hand trembled and stroked Kurome's cheek, her throat was choked up. Fate is really cruel. Witnessing such a scene, everyone's faces were bleak, and there was a feeling of sadness. Witnessing the departure of their companions, sometimes, they couldn't help but think about their own future. Especially Akhame's desperate eyes were even more unforgettable. Ah! Do you need to be so sad? Although I said that she will die soon, I didn't say that she can't be saved. It was very discordant, but it made Akame happy. Can you really do it? Dushless. Chi Tong grabbed Dushless excitedly. He couldn't help but grab Dustless's hands and place them on his chest. Feeling the scorching heat, Chi Tong's despairing heart was ignited once again. Cough cough, Dustless's face stiffened slightly, and he hurriedly withdrew his hands from Chi Tong's grasp. She had placed them in the wrong position, and they were too close. Even though they were separated by clothes, Dustless could still feel their delicate touch. It wasn't Dustless's fault, but Chi Tong's career line was too majestic. It's just a small matter. If it's Tatsumi, I can't save him. If it's your sister, even if her head is separated, I will make her come back to life. Does this bastard know how to speak properly? Why does he have to drag me into this every time? Tatsumi, who was hiding in the dark, was so angry that he stomped his feet. Every time he was so miserable. Although I don't want to admit it, so far, only the Revolutionary Army can gather so many troops. The imperial capital is now going to collapse, and everyone is in danger. Not to mention that there is no such elite force. Even if there is, Minister Onesta will definitely use it to protect the imperial capital. Estetha's analysis was orderly, and what she said was reasonable. Everyone intended to refute, but there was no corresponding plan. If the imperial capital couldn't do it, only the most powerful revolutionary army could do it. Boom boom boom. And the next hysterical roar spread through the void and fell into the ears of all the members of the night raid. Kill these damn traitors, they even colluded with his death behind the revolutionary army, they deserve to be killed. Kill all the traitors, kill the men, kill the women. Ha ha ha. The new country doesn't need garbage like the night raid, let's kill them together. All kinds of angry voices came out from the mouths of the black shadows. Najenda and other members of the night raid were shocked. They didn't expect the well-trained revolutionary army to be so disgusting at the moment. They were no different from the garbage of the empire. You don't have to be surprised, I have told you before. With the passage of time, no matter what material it is, it will slowly decay and age, it can't escape the carving of time. The empire is no exception, and the rising revolutionary army is no exception. Fighting with each other is the nature of human beings. It will never perish, unless all the human beings in the world can be destroyed. Dustless said, his tone was particularly persuasive. It was like the beginning of the empire, it was also honest, but with the passage of time, it was also old and dirty. Damn it! Are we just going to wait helplessly for death? I am not reconciled. Under everyone's surprised gaze, mine decisively raised her taigu. Why don't you give me a chance to explain, do you have to fight with me? Najenda looked sad, she did not expect the revolutionary army to hate his death so much. No, don't you understand? This is not the reason of his death. Dustless noticed that Lubbock and Tatsumi stared at his death with a slightly disgusted look, and explained the reason in one sentence. Our night raid is the dark side of the revolutionary army. All the evil things are done by us, so this group of guys wants to kill us, and then push the blame to the night raid. When the voice fell, the faces of the members of the night raid all changed. They were desperate to the revolutionary army in an instant. They paid for the revolution wholeheartedly. They did not expect that this group of a benevolent revolutionary army was so vicious at the moment. They treated the night raid as a chess piece. Perhaps the basic purpose was as Dustless said, they used his death as an excuse to wipe out the night raid. All the darkness of the new country was the scapegoat of the night raid, and the revolutionary army could wash themselves clean. By the way, everyone seems to have a huge loophole that has been selectively forgotten. The new base of the night raid was exposed, don't you think it's strange? Chapter 1663. Why was the base exposed? All the members were stunned, then they nodded as if they woke up from a dream. Due to the sudden betrayal of the Revolutionary Army, everyone was tangled in the issue of the Revolutionary Army for a while and ignored this crucial issue. The previous night raid was attacked by his death, and the original base was reduced to scorched ruins. Now the new base was changed. The boss Najenda did not rush to inform the Revolutionary Army. Then the question came. How did the Revolutionary Army know? There is a traitor among us. Stretching, Dustless told the amazing truth, and at the same time, his eyes swept across the faces of the members of the night raid, and a special figure came into view. Tatsumi. At this moment of depression, Dustless suddenly called out Tatsumi's name. What's with your eyes? What do you want to express? Do you suspect that I am the traitor? Tatsumi was angry and yelled at Dustless, please pay attention to your wording, remember to have evidence, otherwise it is just false accusation. It didn't matter what Wu-chin said, but everyone looked at Tatsumi. What are you nervous about? I just called your name, I didn't seem to say that you are the traitor who betrayed us. Dustless slightly loosened his shoulders and showed a guilty expression. You are insinuating. Tatsumi had been cheated by Dustless so many times that he had a shadow in his heart. We will talk about these things later. At present, we have defeated the Revolutionary Army temporarily. The boss Najenda pinched the cigarette butt. She also knew that there was a mole in the night raid at the moment. TSK, you are really decisive, Najenda. Isdeth touched her chin and was quite surprised. She didn't expect Najenda to turn hostile. There is nothing to be surprised about, I can't take everyone's life. Najenda waved her hand, and then all the members of the night raid were dispatched this time. The only difference was that the target of the attack was no longer the decaying empire, but the Revolutionary Army. Time passed by, about an hour or so, the night raid successfully repelled the invading Revolutionary Army, and their own losses were minimal or even negligible. In the evening, everyone rushed back to the base, looking exhausted. Being stabbed in the back by one's own people was not only physically tiring, but also a heavy blow to one's spirit. No one would be able to accept the fact that their faith had suddenly betrayed them one day, and they would even feel resentment. We are in the same boat now, Najenda. Isdeth crossed her long white legs and sat lazily on the sofa. She held a wine glass in her hand and gently shook the red liquid in the glass elegantly. Gulp. Then Isdeth drank it up and praised, not bad, the taste is very special and the taste is very mellow. I didn't expect you to have such a good wine in the night raid. Najenda, bring me a few more bottles. This smell is somewhat familiar. Chapter 1664. At night, the sky gradually became cold, and everyone went back to sleep one after another. In Dustless's bedroom, he was lying lazily on the quilt, his eyes were rolling, and his deep black eyes were full of cunning. Who was the undercover this time? In fact, Dustless didn't know, or it was just a coincidence. There was no suspicious person inside the night attack, and it could barely be understood as a coincidence that the Revolutionary Army discovered the night attack on the new base. It's a pity not to take advantage of such a good opportunity. Dustless smiled grimly, and his cheeks flashed a gloomy murderous look. If there was no opportunity, he could create it. Dustless could take advantage of this opportunity to kill Tatsumi and put the blame on him. What's more, Tatsumi has this motive, Dustless murmured coldly, and he made up his mind to push all the causes and consequences to Tatsumi. It was better to kill this eyesore. Creak. It was also at this time that Dustless suddenly heard the sound of the door being pushed open, and he immediately pretended to be asleep, and then he saw the hockey spread out like water ripples. It seems to be Isdeth. Even with his eyes closed, Dustless felt who it was from the unique temperament. The closed eyes opened, and the person who appeared in the eyes was Isdeth in pajamas. No, it was too much to say that it was pajamas. Isdeth's white underwear was open, her proud cleavage was exposed, and most of her two huge meatballs could be seen clearly. What's the matter? You weren't seen when you came, right? Maybe I'll be gossiped about. Also, you're not retaliating against me, are you? So are you ready to be humiliated by me again? Dustless stared at Istetha's delicate face and asked. You know the answer, don't talk nonsense, didn't you expect this scene? The day I begged you, I remember you said it last time. Isteth snorted softly. Did I? Dustless pretended to widen his eyes innocently and scratched his head embarrassedly, as if to say that he didn't know anything. You're too forgetful. Isteth sat on the quilt, staring at Dustless with her watery eyes and said, Lend me your strength, and I can help you do everything you want to do. Is that why you joined the night raid to get close to me? Isteth nodded and crossed her arms. Why do you think I joined the night raid? Don't tell me. Do you think I've been influenced? This kind of thinking was very naive. The Empire was not a good thing, and so was the Revolutionary Army. The winner could decide everything. Evil and justice are not important, the key is power. Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really thought that Isteth wanted to repent. Who knew that this girl joined the Night Raid assassin organization in order to get close to him? You are right, the winner can decide everything. The key is that you are just a stray dog now, you don't even have the ability of Taigu, how can you talk about winning? It's too funny. Dustless raised his tone deliberately to attack Isteth. That's why I came to you for help. Isteth blinked and said with a serious expression, Give me the power to destroy them. From now on, we are allies. No, no, Dustless shook his head quickly and sneered, Miss Isteth, do you really think others are fools? My power can give you stronger strength, but do you want to get something for nothing? Don't you think you are too ridiculous? You want to get my power without paying, there is no such cheap thing in the world. If you want to get my power, you must come up with the conditions that I am interested in. That's right, Isteth lowered her head without saying yes or no. If you want to get other people's things, who will be fooled if you don't give bait? What's more, Dustless was not the kind of idiot who had a lot of money. After thinking for a while, under Dustless's surprised gaze, Isteth made an amazing move. The almost transparent pajamas as thin as a cicada's wing was cut from Istetha's delicate body. The delicate skin and the body that made people daydream were all exposed in the sight of Dustless. The body that made people commit crimes could be seen at a glance, it attracted the nerves of Dustless. Cough, cough, Dustless was slightly stunned after seeing this, his face flashed with embarrassment, and he reluctantly took back his sight. Give me power, this body is yours, you can do whatever you want, I will never resist. Finally, Isteth approached Dustless and blew a hot breath in his ear. You can do whatever you want, I will fully cooperate with you. Since you think so clearly, then I will agree with you this deal. Staring at Istetha's clear eyes, Dustless snapped his fingers, then a strange fruit appeared in his hand. It was the devil fruit, and it was the ice-cold fruit of Logia. What is this? Don't tell me that it can let me regain the strength of the past. Isteth pointed to the devil fruit with suspicion. Eat it, you will get the previous strength, no, to be exact, you will get the strength beyond the previous. Akiji's ice-cold fruit is far more powerful than the Taigu, demon god's manifestation, devil's essence. Dustless explained, staring at Isteth and said, but there is a condition, you must promise me, otherwise everything is in vain, and what I said before does not count. My body. You can take it. Isteth said calmly, the concept of the weak being prey to the strong had already been deeply rooted. For her, the weak deserved to be dominated by the strong. Not this. Dustless stared at Isteth angrily. She thought he was crazy. Dustless walked to Istetha's side and said something to her in a low voice. After a while, Isteth, who understood, had a strange expression. Are you sure you want to do this? Especially when she gained more power than before, she was extremely happy. Then with a slight thought, the cold air emitted from Istetha's body calmed down. Good control. Is it because you have been playing with ice for a long time? Dustless's eyes flashed with surprise, and he smiled with satisfaction. Although it is not as good as Akiji for the time being, it should be no problem to surpass him. Who is this Akiji you are talking about? Is he also a person with this ice-cold fruit ability? Isteth blinked and asked curiously. Yes, but to be exact, he is your predecessor. He is dead. Dustless waved and said, and immediately stared at Isteth with aggressive eyes. I remember you just said that if I let you regain your former strength, your body will be mine, right? In that case, it would be impolite for me to decline. Staring at the fragrant Isteth, Dustless did not hesitate to rush up. At first, he thought that Isteth would resist. Unexpectedly, this girl not only did not refuse, but also showed a different kind of wildness. She wanted to counterattack Dustless and press Dustless under her body. After a short period of absent-mindedness, Dustless naturally would not let Isteth do as she wished, and he suppressed Isteth strongly. The next morning, when Dustless and Isteth opened their eyes, it was almost noon of the next day. What a shameless night. The bright sunshine sprinkled into the room. Dustless subconsciously blocked the light with his hand, and looked at the outside world through the weak gap between his 5 fingers. Is it noon? Dustless just got up and put on his clothes, but the soft and boneless arms hugged him tightly. What's the matter, Isteth? Staring at the delicate face, an inexplicable tiredness swept through his heart. Dustless retracted the quilt again and hugged the plump body in his arms. With his eyes closed, Dustless said casually, remember, you have to cooperate with me to kill Tatsumi, and push the identity of undercover to him. This is the content of the deal. I will fulfill it even if you don't say it. Isteth lay lazily on Wuchen's body. Both of them didn't have clothes to cover their bodies, and they were naked. I have a new plan. Istetha's eyes flashed with slyness, and she said straightforwardly, you are too strong. I seem to be no match for you in the end, no matter how hard I try. This is true in all aspects. Isteth finally added a sentence full of deep meaning. Until now, her body was still painful, and there were obvious claw marks on her white skin. It's good that you know. Holding his head, Dustless smiled. So, speaking of this, Isteth became more sly, holding Dustless's neck. Let's have a baby, and use your genes to defeat you. Is this a good plan? Chapter 1667. Tatsumi's pupils widened. He didn't expect these two guys to cooperate so well. The tacit understanding was speechless. It was true that he hated Isteth because this guy killed Tatsumi. Of course, if Tatsumi knew that Isteth was actually just an innocent scapegoat, and the real culprit who killed Bullet was Dustless, he would definitely be choked to death. I want evidence. Again, I refuse to cooperate with the extraction of memory. Tatsumi turned his head and ignored Dustless and Isteth. Only idiots would cooperate. Extracting memory meant that all secrets would be controlled by Dustless. How could this be? This guy, the members of the night raid looked at each other and were secretly annoyed with Tatsumi's behavior. This guy gave people a feeling that he would not accept any conditions. Hey! Tatsumi, there is no way if you don't cooperate. Boss Najenda threw away the long smoke in her hand and stared at Tatsumi with bright eyes. Boss, do you also think that I am not a spy? I am so touched. Tatsumi was surprised when he heard the words, and his face showed a cheerful smile. Listening to Najenda's words, it seemed that she was going to let him go and stop the absurd practice of extracting memory. At the same time, he looked at Dustless, which meant, look, the boss is still on my side in the end. Favoritism. What's the strength of this guy? Why does Najenda pay so much attention to him? Dustless glanced at Najenda with a complicated expression, then he stared at Tatsumi for a few times with an unlucky expression. After fighting for so long, I finally won a round. It's not easy. Tatsumi laughed in his heart and had a feeling of exultation. He excitedly walked to boss Nagenda. When Tatsumi was about to flatter her, Nagenda grabbed his shoulder very abnormally. Tatsumi, I know you are wronged, but now is a special time. I hope you can be wronged, so, please let Dustless extract your memory. Nagenda suddenly changed her face and said very seriously, don't worry, except for you who didn't betray everyone, other members will also have their memory extracted. Ha! Tatsumi stared straight at Nagenda. Originally, he had intended to flatter her. After hearing these words, 100,000 crows flew over his forehead. He was in a bad mood and almost lost control of his spirit. I firmly object. Tatsumi rebuked loudly and pursed his mouth with a constipated look. He just planned to flatter Nagenda, but she betrayed him in the next second. Dustless, come and work. Boss Nagenda looked at Dustless, Tatsumi's feelings, pointed at him and said, be quick, the next person whose memory is extracted will be Lubbock. Ha, don't worry, leave it, in 1 minute. Tatsumi's Nagenda, and Tatsumi, with Tatsumi, and step. Tatsumi's head was dizzy, and his mind was spinning. What he heard was not 1 minute, but 1 minute to turn himself into a super idiot. In fact, Dustless did plan to destroy this guy's spirit and make him a retard. Let go of me. Tatsumi suddenly smashed Nagenda's hand, looked at the glass window, and jumped out without hesitation under everyone's stunned gaze. Catch Tatsumi quickly, don't let him run away, this kid is guilty. Boss Nagenda's face was replaced by a fierce look after the corner of her mouth twitched. Then other members of the night raid, as well as Boss Nagenda, all joined the task of arresting Tatsumi. This is really a disaster. It seems that it is not in your plan. I remember that you just planned to turn Tatsumi into an idiot, but this kid ran away. Isdeth sat lazily on the sofa, looking up at the ceiling, the snow-white meatball almost broke out of her clothes. No, this is better. Although it is a little different from my plan, the ending is more perfect. Dustless suddenly smiled strangely and said in a cold voice, in this way, even if I kill Tatsumi by accident, others have nothing to say. Isdeth raised her head and snorted, despicable man. Despicable. Dustless's calm eyes fell on Isdeth's head, nodded and agreed, maybe, but it is very despicable. But often, despicable people laugh at the end, right? For example, Minister Ernest. That makes sense. Isdeth nodded after a slight silence. It was because Minister Ernest was despicable enough that he lived freely and killed all his political enemies. Do it, don't let them beat you. If you meet Tatsumi, kill him for me, don't show mercy. After the voice fell, Dustless's body disappeared. He turned into a ray of light and went straight to the distant sky. In an instant, he surpassed Nagenda and others and followed Tatsumi closely. He chased after Tatsumi and constantly narrowed the distance between the two sides. Today's Tatsumi was not the same as before. The degree of control of a ghost haunt was also perfect. It was not the peak, but at least he could perfectly hide his breath. After he launched the stealth skill, the members of the night raid instantly became blind. Even if Tatsumi was beside everyone, they could not perceive his existence. Sure enough, the night raid is still not suitable for me. I should go inside the Revolutionary Army. It is more suitable for me. After becoming a big official, I can also change the future of the village. Now that the boss and the Revolutionary Army have parted ways, the Revolutionary Army must be lacking a master like me. With such an idea, Tatsumi rushed to the base of the Revolutionary Army, but ignored the flash behind him. Chapter 1668. The speed of light was incredible and beyond people's cognition. It was not an exaggeration to describe it as fleeting. When moving forward, there would be a huge roar, and the vibration made people's eardrums hurt. Who is it? With such a huge movement, Tatsumi also noticed it at the first time. As soon as he turned around, a slap flew over. Bang bang bang. Kakaka. Tatsumi's head was hit a few times by an extremely violent fist, and he could still hear the sound of kakaka. His nose and teeth were broken by the owner of this light. Ouch, it hurts. Tatsumi's eyes were filled with tears due to the pain. He covered his old face with both hands and rolled on the ground in pain. Who did it? Who is it? A voice full of hatred jumped out from Tatsumi's throat. He finally escaped from the wolf's den of the night raid. He thought that he would have no worries after joining the revolutionary army. Who knew that God didn't give him face? He didn't escape far before an unexpected disaster came. Tatsumi, you heartless thing, you want to run away after taking the things of the night raid? At least take off, haunted spirit, and give it to me. The light turned into reality and condensed into a handsome face. The person who came had a jade-like face. His gentle face was as warm as the sun, and his smile made people involuntarily open their hearts. Only the cold eyes were as terrifying as the devil. It was not difficult to see that this person was like a smiling tiger. He was temperamental, and no one could figure out what he was thinking. Dustless. Tatsumi was furious when he saw it. His eyes were filled with hatred when he met his enemy. Before escaping the detection range of the night raid, Tatsumi unlocked the haunted spirit armor. Now because of the appearance of Dustless, Tatsumi once again used his trump card. Due to the deep resentment between the two, haunted spirit felt the anger in Tatsumi's soul and mutated. The dazzling light spread out. At the waist, a pair of broken wings flashed. They were full of incomplete traces like broken scrap iron. But even so, Tatsumi's momentum was several times stronger than before. Kakaka. The ground beneath his feet also began to crack chaotically. Yo, seeing this, Dustless showed a rare expression of appreciation and complimented, "Your willpower is not bad. Ghost Haunt has sensed your anger and evolved. Do you hate me so much, Tatsumi? Do I need you to tell me whether I hate you or not? I didn't mean to go against you, but you always make things difficult for me and suppress me. Today, it's time to end the grudge." Clenching his fist, Tatsumi's confidence soared. Dustless smiled and said disdainfully, "Do you think you've improved just because you've grown trash wings? Big mistake. Rotten oranges will always be rotten oranges." Swish. Swish. Just as he finished speaking, Dustless's figure flashed and pounced over with a strong pressure. Still so fast. Chapter 1669. Puchi. The severe tingling spread all over his body. Tatsumi's face was as pale as paper, and he was sweating like rain. He felt that his vitality was fading rapidly, and a sense of powerlessness deep in his soul swept everywhere in an instant. His eyes even saw the grim reaper who came to kill him with a sickle. In this short period of time, even Tatsumi's black hair turned white a lot. "You killed your companion, the boss will definitely not let you go." Tatsumi shouted with a face full of hatred, "Soon, we will meet in hell, and fight again in the next life." "Tut tut, your hope is doomed to fail." Dustless raised the corner of his mouth and smiled, "Kill your companion. To tell you the truth, your good brother, Bullet, was killed by me. But what is the result? I still live happily until now, but you, tut tut, your appearance is really miserable." Seeing Tatsumi was so stubborn, Dustless stabbed Tatsumi's heart with the Heaven Cluster Cloud sword and penetrated deeper. Puchi. The burnt wound was full of burning smell. Tatsumi's flesh was burnt, making a disgusting smell. "Bah, this smell is disgusting. How many days have you not taken a bath?" Dustless looked disgusted and kicked Tatsumi out. "You damn guy, I will not forgive you even if I become a ghost." Tatsumi looked at Dustless with hatred, his scarlet eyes remembered Dustless in his mind, and then he was unwilling to die. Idiot, there are many people who hate me, who do you think you are? Glancing at Tatsumi's body faintly, Dustless's pupils flashed a sharp light. Amaterasu. Tatsumi's whole body burned with black flames, his body was slowly swallowed and gradually disappeared. Even Dustless did not let go of his taigu, haunted by evil spirits, he destroyed all of it and burned it into black residue. You are really ruthless, you deserve to be. Istetha's delicate body flashed to Dustless's side, she looked at Tatsumi's disappearing body coldly, only this black flame made her feel the fatal threat. How many trump cards does this man have that I don't know about? Her bright eyes were even more lonely. Ishteth felt powerless for a deep-sea shark like Dustless, and at the same time, she became more firm with Dustless's plan to make a human being. I'll borrow your seed to destroy you. Ishteth felt that this plan was quite good, at least it was the only strategy she could think of to deal with Dustless. Go back and say that this guy was killed by the Revolutionary Army, and the tiger was also taken away. Dustless took back his sight, he finally left Istetha's back. What if I expose your plot to kill Tatsumi? Staring at Dustless's cold face, Ishteth pointed to her chin and teased, if that's the case, you will be betrayed by everyone. Extremely bored, Dustless glanced at Ishteth, he said with a resolute tone, if you want to report me, you will not gossip here. Moreover, compared with each other, Najenda believes me more. A special energy fluctuation appeared on his body, and the room started to tremble and collapse at an accelerated rate. Bang! With a loud bang, the palace turned into ruins. The dark and oppressive room was lit up quite a bit. Looking up, it turned out that a gentle light was descending from the sky. Ayo. After a few dozen seconds, the bright sky darkened once again. A black shadow that was dozens of meters tall turned from nothingness to reality, and its mighty and extraordinary figure was exposed to the world. What the hell is that? A group of members of the night raid who raided the palace looked up at the sky, looking at the unparalleled height and the domineering temperament, their scalps were numb. I heard from Dustless that this is the strongest taigu, Supreme Taser. I didn't expect it to have such a powerful power. With such a terrifying height, not to mention that it is a taigu, even if it is a worm, it can turn the world upside down when it moves. Akame and others were horrified. Even if Dustless had given them a precaution before, they were still shocked by the thunder at this moment. The oppression brought by this super monster was too deep. Just a casual glance from him would make one feel as if there was a sharp blade on one's back. It wasn't just the night attack. All the residents of the empire felt as if there was a huge guillotine on their foreheads. They all ran out of the empire with all their might. Dustless, is that the strongest taigu you said? Is it also the first taigu? Only the inheritor of the royal blood can open the Supreme Taser. Its appearance seems to be more exaggerated and tall than last time. Looking at the behemoth, even if she saw it last time and fought with it once, Ishteth also lost her mind for a while, and her eyes were empty. She didn't know when she had already stood beside Dustless. Ha ha ha. You two damn guys, this time you are going to die. You will definitely die, and, Supreme Taser, will destroy everything. Minister Ernest laughed crazily, and even danced like a child. What is our result? You can't see it, and your current identity is just a stray dog, don't you think you are too talkative? With a flash, Dustless turned into a huge light and arrived in front of Minister Ernest. Staring at his fat body, he quickly waved out a few light beams in succession. Poochie! 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 The blood flew, and the ground was instantly filled with purple-red blood stains. Looking up, Minister Ernest's arms and legs were cut off, and the blood dyed the whole ground red. The air was smelly, it seemed to be smelled by the purple-red blood. Aw. It hurts. Your Majesty, revenge for me, kill this bastard. Minister Ernest screamed miserably, the hysterical voice was full of endless hatred for Dustless. Tut tut, dying casually is too easy for you, old dog. It's death, I will tell you a good way to torture people. Chapter 1671. This scene was too sudden, even Esteth didn't expect such a dramatic change. Minister Ernest, who was regarded as a devil by everyone, was scared to death by the absurdity. Hee hee. The torture methods you said are good, we are really the same kind of people, Dustless. Esteth's mouth was flirting with a smile, looking at Dustless's eyes, full of emotions. This guy, staring at Esteth's evil eyes, the spring-watery eyes almost melted Dustless's heart. It was very warm, but Dustless was not happy, instead, he was a little creepy. It seemed that Esteth intended to test the methods just mentioned on Dustless once. You dare to, inside Supreme Taser, the Emperor's indignant roar sounded, followed by a dark red halo, suddenly appeared in the boundless void, and the overwhelming storm swept the entire imperial capital. Damn it, that guy is desperate. Let's retreat. Najenda saw the flash in Supreme Taser's mouth, and her face was full of fear. The power of the lingering fear could be clearly felt hundreds of meters away. Her skin was about to be torn, and even blood could not help but overflow through the pores. Everyone's heart was uneasy and full of despair. At their level, if they were hit by Supreme Taser, their bodies would be shattered. Hee hee, you dare to use the candlelight to make a fool of yourself. No wonder this country is going to be finished, even the Emperor is an idiot. Dustless sarcastically said. You, bastard. Inside the Supreme Taser, the veins on the Emperor's forehead bulged. He clenched his teeth and spat out the 4 words. Killing the Emperor's father, Minister Ernest, was a huge blow to the young Emperor's mental state. Boom boom boom. The originally small energy ball, in an instant, responded to the Emperor's anger and became bigger. Go to hell, traitor of the Empire. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The Emperor's scream fell, the huge red energy ball cut through the void, the light of destruction was about to engulf Dustless. Boom boom boom. Because it was too powerful, before it even landed on the ground, the hurricane created by the beam of light had already destroyed a massive number of buildings. The bustling imperial city was left in a mess. Staring at the falling light, under everyone's puzzled gaze, Wu Qin lazily raised his right arm, clenched his hand into a fist, and made a posture of preparing to attack. It seemed that he wanted to defeat the light with his bare hands. Could it be that this fellow wants to catch it with his bare hands? The members of the night raid widened their eyes, including Esteth, they were all surprised. She once had a confrontation with Supreme Taser. The result was very unfortunate. At that time, Esteth, who was sealed by Minister Ernest's trick, was not the opponent of this behemoth at all. Therefore, Esteth was quite familiar with the power of Supreme Taser. Its strength was unprecedented. Almost no living species in the sea, land, and air could compete with it. Bring it on. Dustless glanced at the incoming attack, his right arm was covered with armament hockey, his feet slammed on the ground, and he jumped up and flew towards the flash. Boom boom boom. The light hit Dustless's body, everyone was nervous. They thought that he would be blown up by the energy beam, but the result was just the opposite. Phew phew phew. The fluctuation that stopped was sublimated again, the movement that was bigger than before was shaking. The unparalleled light did not fall this time, but rose quickly. How is it possible? It can blow that thing away. The members of the night raid were stunned. Everyone looked at the rising light. Everyone's thinking was subverted, and their brain cells were suddenly not enough. They saw that Dustless hit all the light back with his own strength. Is that guy a human being? Not to mention the power of the beam, the temperature can melt a human being, even the bones can be dismembered. Dustless actually hit it back with his mortal body. Is his body made of iron that can ignore the high temperature? No, even if the body is made of iron, it will be melted when it touches the high temperature. How hard is his body? Istetha's small mouth was wide open, and her mouth twitched slightly. Even if she tried to hide the shock in her heart, she was still shocked and speechless. What would happen if a human was close to hundreds or even thousands of degrees Celsius? Needless to say, this person's end would definitely be nothing. But Dustless was still fine at the moment, completely ignoring the blazing high temperature. Not only that, but he also hit back with an even more powerful force. What kind of joke is this? The little emperor, who was inside the supreme taser, was also taken aback. His eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. Retreat quickly. The emperor panicked and quickly controlled supreme taser, trying to avoid the light that distorted time and space. Although the idea was beautiful, the reality was cruel and ruthless. Supreme taser, this kind of behemoth, is similar to Susanoo. Its attack power is very strong, but its movement is slow. It can even be said to be sluggish, because this kind of move is originally used to attack the enemy, not to escape. Therefore, it was inevitable that the emperor was hit, and he was sent flying by his own move. Boom boom boom. Attacked by its own move, Supreme Taser's head was fatally injured, and a blazing flame mushroom cloud rose, and the high temperature melted everything. Half of the majestic Supreme Taser's head was destroyed, and even its abdomen was severely injured, showing a scorched pit, and all the equipment was sunken in. Poochie. Suffering such a serious injury, the emperor inside was naturally not spared. The tyrannical power wave directly made him dizzy, and his head was dizzy, and he could fall at any time. Looking around, Supreme Taser's entire body was emitting black smoke. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.